necessitated. You need a guide to show you how we get through a situation like this, to give you resources and to help you get out of the emotional pea soup fog of dealing with a crisis and the resulting fallout. I've been there, and I'm here to help you. Out of the fog. If you weren't emotionally bound up in your situation, you would have more clarity. You would be able to see your best options for dealing with whatever comes up. If the version of yourself who has already walked through this rock bottom and come out the other end could go back in time and give you, the you right now, some advice, what would she say? Would she tell you to slow down, to stop rushing, that you don't have to have all the answers today? Would the future you recommend not making any major decisions without reviewing them first, particularly while you're still in the fog? Would she tell you that normal is going to look different for a while, but that you will feel normal again? In case we haven't invented time travel by the time you read this book, I'm here to tell you all of the above. I developed the Boots formula to help you learn to make choices, have a life shift, and make great things happen based on your individual values and best life vision. A change is going to happen, and it's worth it. There's a stage where it feels like everyone in your life is picking at you. Life itself may seem like it's trying its best to stop you from doing whatever you want to do. All you hear is, "That's a stupid idea," and "That's never going to work," and "Who do you think you are?" One of the hardest things for people to do is to realign and possibly walk away from anything and anyone that conflicts with their value systems. But you are going to discover that power within yourself. Through the activities and examples in this book, you will discover your true north and will be able to easily do what is needed to move forward with your life. Anything that hurts you, that doesn't resonate for you, that fights against what you want and believe in, you are going to give it the boot. Once you have turned your rock bottom moment into a positive, beautiful life shift, you can live your life on your terms. Your life will probably look different, but you get to design it this time. You are taking your life back, and you are in charge, not anybody else. Sooner than you can imagine, you'll be in the career of your dreams or the relationship you always wanted. Because you are going to learn to develop healthy boundaries. Because you are going to do things differently along the way from here to there. You will begin to attract the people, the job, the place to live, all of the opportunities that align with who you are, your essence, your truth, not anybody else's or even society's expectations of the way you're supposed to be. Once you have accepted that you are in charge of living your life and you begin to embody living your truth, people are going to see you. They're going to be inspired by you. Then you're going to hear, "Hey, can you show me how you did that? I want to do it too." When you assess your peer group and up-level according to your life purpose and vision, and once you have created a life shift for yourself, whatever that looks like, your life is not just full, it's fulfilled. Not only do you get more and better sleep, you wake up feeling rested and happy. You know that you're doing what you need to do. Yes, sometimes your heart will call you to leave certain friends or family members in order to find a more aligned peer group. From what I've seen, however, the ones who leave always return to lead their family and friends to success. Because your friends are more in alignment with your beliefs and value system, they support you while also pushing you toward your personal best. Life still involves work, but as a whole, it feels far more effortless. But you don't have to wait for the right person, right job, or right investment opportunity to show up. You can start living now so that every moment as you go forward through the process of recovering from rock bottom and redesigning your life is one more step to being the best version of you, the one who came. All right, if you are looking to reinvent life on your terms, if you are grieving, experiencing financial turmoil, career shifts, relationship problems, parenting, elder care, victims of abuse, breaking free from an addiction, or seeking an overall business and lifestyle redesign, then you may need a reboot. Is not
fits all, just like a pair of boots or a bra. So the formula is designed to help you through any situation.
Are you ready for a reboot? Welcome to the Sheila Mack Show, reality at its finest. History reminds us those hit hardest often become the change makers. This year, we've all hit crazy economic, social, and emotional rock bottoms. We all get knocked down. Something hits globally, locally, personally. It affects our health, finances, our relationships. We have to recreate a business or career. Each show, Sheila and her special guest will be sharing their reboot stories, guiding you with real solutions to upgrade and up-level emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. Here on NBC's KCAA Radio. If you're ready to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and bra straps, enjoy a listen. Here's Sheila.
At its finest, here we have real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and today we have Pamela Milliken as our special guest. Pamela has two beautiful daughters who she adores more than anything. She is a legal executive. That's equivalent to having a law degree here in the United States. And she is a published author, a screenwriter, co-screenwriter, mindset mastery and personal development coach, and a European waveski surfing champion. Oh, that sounds fun, among other things. Now, she grew up with a lot of poverty and abuse, was completely abandoned by her whole family at 15 and a half, and somehow she made it through to have this great life when she went from having the most amazing time of her life to one of the most numbing. However, she refused to let that destroy her or her future, and instead she created an amazing life for herself. So she's going to tell us more about all that. Welcome to the show, Pamela.
Thank you, Sheila. Thank you for having me. It's lovely to be here.
All right. And I'd like to start off this show actually came about based on my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. So I always like to ask if you have a time in your business or your personal life where you experienced a tough situation and how you got back on track.
I think probably there were, and I love your book, by the way, and I love the title of that's fantastic. My book, Making Broken Beautiful, shares a portion of my life, and so thank you for asking. I guess one of the toughest times in my life was coming home, because I grew up in poverty and abuse and being regularly beaten and told I'd be nothing and never would be, and I'd curl up in a ball and just start, in my head, I go, I'll show you. And which is why when I got the opportunity, I did a law degree. It was like, what can I do? That's the hardest thing that I think, well, I'm going to do that and I'll show you. So I went from, because I was going out with a boyfriend who was uptown boy and I was downtown girl. We lived on a government housing estate on handouts. So I got to see two different sides of life. So I got to see mine where my parents were unemployed, living on the dole, on handouts, stealing things left, right, and centre, and I got to see his side of the traps, which was like, they had a phone inside their house, which 50 years ago that was a huge thing. They had a phone inside their house, and they had a car, and they had jobs, and they wore nice clothes, and spoke nicely, treated each other nicely. So I got to see two different sides of things. So I think I was very fortunate, even though I grew up with abuse and poverty, and to know that if I was everything my father was telling me, why would they treat me so nicely? So kind of that gave me two different sides. So my big turning point in my life was going away on holiday with them at 15 and a half. I was super excited because I'd never been outside of their council estate that I'd lived on. And, I was one of those children that sat outside, looked in other people's windows at their Christmas trees because we didn't have one. And so then I had all these fabulous things to talk about when I came home. And my mother had already left 6 months before taking my sister because she was fed up with the beatings. So she ran off, and I don't know where she went to. It was 15 years to find her.
Wow.
And then, so I came home, and the completely house was empty. So I think what I did at one point is made that I'm married. You can't have anything amazing happen to you because something really bad's going to happen, because life has to balance. And I ran that for a long time. But there's something inside of me that is built for success, and I know every human being on the planet is built for success. So I just activated my internal blueprint. I didn't come into the world with all of these limitations. I learned that from what I've seen, and I've studied human behavior and the psychology behind decisions and people and what they do since I was 16, because I needed to understand what was going on. So I guess that was my turning point, coming home, finding the house empty. And that's what I've written about in my book, Making Broken Beautiful, which has been adapted by Gino Scala into a screenplay, which is kind of cool. So yeah, in my book, I share the tools and the strategies and the techniques I use to turn that around, to say this is not going to be my life, because I've seen two sides. I think I was very fortunate to see two sides, because I knew there was something else out there, if that makes sense.
Definitely. Yes, that is something, and we have a lot in common for sure, going through similar situations. And, my book has some of those stories too. And it's one of those things that I was also really blessed to see both sides, and to have beautiful businesses and be, and my grandparents at one point took me in, and they had clothing manufacturing, big companies that did all the swimsuits, very famous brands. And so that was one thing. And then the home life was another. And then, there was such a difference. I used to love work. As a little girl, I would go to work, and everybody was so nice there. And then when they got home, they started hitting each other and getting into abuse. And I was like, work is great. So I've always loved work.
Get that.
And it's one of those things that I realized. And, when you go to those extremes, even our ages were the same. 15 and a half. For me, I emancipated from foster care that I was in for since 13 and a half, before that homeless, from 10 to 13 and a half. And so when I got into the foster care, they, it wasn't all that nice. And the kids came, they were very angry children, teens that were in different gangs and did different things. And across from me was this very rich orphanage that they had to sell off to a couple. And the couple was a famous artist, Michael Whipple, and his wife, Pamela Weston Whipple, who owns the Weston Hotels. And so I was their apprentice, and I knocked on their door and said, "Can I work for you and be your personal assistant?" And they hired me. And so
beautiful. That's awesome.
I would go to the home with the girls and deal with all that. And then I would get to stay over and have my weekend house at this mansion.
Wow.
And I thought,
that's amazing.
And I'm 15 and a half, and I'm like, okay, I see the kids partying, and I see all this stuff, and they're getting into trouble. Bad things are happening, and shootings because they're in the wrong area when they go out together. And I'm over here and I'm like, and I don't really want all that drama and stuff for my life. I kind of like this stuff over here, business and fun and learning about things.
Yeah.
And so it's
100%.
It's a choice, because every kid could have knocked on that door. But they didn't. And it was right there. It was literally on the same campus.
100%. I agree.
So that we get to choose. And I'd love to hear parts of your book, and maybe some things from some of the chapters that are like your favorite points or learnings or messages in that book.
Okay. Oh, that's a hard one. So one of my best parts in the book is traveling and going for the first time. I remember, it makes me feel emotional. How fun is that? All of a sudden, my eyes are going to start. You blindsided me, Miss Mac. You're sneaky. Yeah, okay, so I loved it. Well, the first time I ever got into a car, because we didn't have a car, but we got on a boat. and we went across from England to France. For me, that was just like, this is mad. I'm in a boat. I'm on a boat in a car. This is mad. And it's like, I know it's just something that's really silly, but 50 years ago when I was, this age, or whatever, 45 years ago when I was that age, 15, it was like, it was just the most incredible thing. And seeing the White Cliffs of Dover and all the chalk on them, and I learned about that. And then I swear I must have did the whole trip with my mouth open, because I was just like looking around, and there's, we went through France and we tried, snails, and they're disgusting, by the way. So I don't care what anybody says. That could be a delicacy if you like. Snails are snails. And I actually did write about those in my book. So I wrote about that in my book. That was one of my best things. The toughest thing that people will read in my book is when my father made me, I found a cat, and it was fat and it was mangy, and I loved pets. Pets for me were everywhere, because you know what, they were loving and caring, and they were always pleased to see you, and they didn't hurt you. So I had this affinity with all these different animals around the estate, and there was a mangy old horse that I used to I used to nick an apple from one of the people's gardens and take it to it on the way to school. And I found this mangy old cat anyway, and I took it home and I hid it in the airing cupboard, and I was nicking food from the dog next door and feeding it to this cat. Only this cat wasn't fat; it was pregnant, and then so I had all these kittens.
Oh, they're so.
And my father found them, and then he made me pass them to them one at a time, and while he flushed them down the toilet. And
oh no! Yes.
Yeah, and that's the saddest thing. But my father wasn't someone who said no to, because I was a little girl, he was a big man, and I was already getting beaten 7 bells, so you kind of he just said, well, they're probably going to be better off anyway, because what's he going to do with them? So many things disappeared. So there's some tough things in my book, but there's some great stories in there too. I use a lot of humor, and the second half of my book is all the techniques and the strategies and the tools that I use to go, this is not going to be my life. And as you said, you're absolutely right. But although I think it takes a certain type of determination, and it's like, this. I think if you've seen both sides, then you've been exposed to that there is more to life than this. And just because someone tells you you're worthless or they can't see the good in you, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It means they can't see it. And that shares with you more about them than it does about you.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
So much.
I've actually written my this book too. It's called Life in Verse. And I'll read it to you if you want. My whole story is in a poem at the beginning of this book.
Beautiful.
Would you like to hear it?
Definitely.
All right. Hold on. I'll read it to you. Now I've got to put my glasses on because I'm in denial. Thinking.
I'm right there with you with my glasses. Go ahead.
All right. This is my story in verse. Okay. When I was just a little girl, I rarely got to eat. My clothes were torn and dirty, and my shoes didn't fit my feet. We lived in poverty and debt, with times of absent lighting, cold baths meant shaking cold and wet to the background noise of fighting. My father was such an angry man that mother tiptoed round in fear, and we kids dared not to rock the boat. We just held our breath when he was near. My mum was just a simple thing. No schooling had left her dents, but she chain smoked like a chimney sweep and swore so much you could easily take offence. There were many times of hiding too, behind the sofa, flat to floor, from aggressive men called collectors who thunder-banged the door. I found everything confusing. It made no sense at all, from the language they were using to the endless drama school. I tried hard to be a good kid. I practiced manners and I studied hard. I loved the sharing of my learning, but found it tossed out in the yard. So then I became a people pleaser, and I cooked and cleaned Edged 8. But that didn't work so well either. He chucked the food and smashed the plate. Father had this temper and terrifying rages. He'd shout, punch doors and break our things. Incensed, his blow-ups ran in stages. Our mother often copped it first with a fairly hefty smacking, and we'd hide away and try not to hear her cries and yells, nerve-wracking. It wasn't safe to say a word, just tolerate, accept, abide. Give no show of your emotions, keep those feelings locked inside. But nothing lasts forever. Soon mother left and ran away. She took my little sister with her, but where she went, she didn't say. Then it was only 6 months later when my father too abandoned ship, and he took my little brother with him while I was on a big road trip. So I came home then to find a completely empty house, and everything I owned was gone. It was a vacuum that was quiet as a mouse. Neither parent had wanted me, and only 15 years of age. I didn't know what I had done. At their moods I couldn't gauge. Feeling lost and lonely, fearful, sad, thinking, boy, I must be really bad. What to do? Now where can I go? Think, Pam, think. Okay, I know. My mother always liked that song, Walk Tall and Look the World Right in the Eye. Well, that day I grew, and I did just that. And I didn't stop to cry. Now, that was 40 years ago, and I've done such a lot since then. I've worked hard and raised a family, and I began my life again.
Oh, that's beautiful. Wow, I love that. That is so
Thank you.
beautiful. You know, and
Thank you.
so many people, and obviously there was abuse in my past too. And one of the things that helped me the most was some strange awareness that I came to that was my thing. And I said, wait, these people, okay, they did the best they can, but something wasn't right. Maybe there was
Yeah,
a
absolutely.
brain balance, a mental thing going on, an alcohol addiction. We don't know, and it's to be defined. It doesn't even matter what the reason was. But you think
Mhm.
now that you've had your children, I've had my children. You love all your children, and you think, okay, but they didn't have the capacity
No,
to
100%.
be healthy and
Mm,
care for the family the way they needed to. But the part of
mhm.
them that maybe that little loving part that was healthy, that little teeny tiny piece, if they were 100% healthy, would say, "You know what? You needed to go. We needed to not be there because you needed to take care of yourself because you were safer." And to keep a distance. So if you're listening in right now and you're in an abusive situation, it is not up to the person that's not healthy that's abusing you. It is up to you, and you
Yeah,
need to get as much
100%.
help and support as you can and to get out. And
Yeah.
and so there's lots of help and resources. I have resources in my book, and in the United States and Canada, we have resources also 211, and I'm not sure what's available in Australia right now, but there's
Mm,
different resources to help. And it's a hard thing to do, but it's the safest thing. And if they were in their right minds, anybody would, a loving parent would be like, you know what, I can't do this right now. You're not safe. You need to go be safe. And so that's
mm.
something that really helped me to separate the illness, the mental illness from the person, and take my own responsibility for what I could change. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And I
so
think that's the key right there is it's like stop believing them just because they tell you you're worthless. It doesn't mean it's true.
yeah,
And it's just like stop believing that. And if we can play a victim, we can be victims, and at some point we're all guilty of doing that. We want to feel sorry for ourselves, and I became a Tony Robbins coach because I coach very differently,
right.
and in my program, it's called Reset Your Life. It's a 6-week personal development program where we destroy everything that you ever think and believe, and then we reset. That's why it's called Reset Your
Yes,
Life. And as a Tony Robbins coach, I thought I would learn something, but I didn't because I think we might be family because we teach the same way, we think the same way. But when I did his course, it was like, finally, I'm not in that case the way that I'm teaching because he uses a lot of humor and he
right.
does the whole, distraction thing and whatever. And I just think, I love that guy. I went to his Unleash the Power Within and sort of, I'm like about this big and he's like, there's like a powerhouse and his
Right.
hands are like shovels and that beautiful man. And I have so much respect for him. And he was one of my mentors online that
Oh,
him and
yeah.
John Assaraf and Joe Dispenza and all those people, they're just beautiful people that are trying to help everybody else. But at the end of the day, you have to take responsibility for what you're thinking and feeling. And just you can choose. And I don't say this lightly when I say choose to stop believing them because I know how hard that is. And when I say forgive people, and I know Tony says this too, it's like you staying sick and you staying unhappy and unwell and keeping yourself limited is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to get sick.
Yes.
They've moved on, they're gone, they don't care, and you're letting them still win. And that
Mm,
was one thing in my mind. It's like, I am not going to limit my life because you're treating me like I'm worthless because I'll get better at whatever it is I think I'm rubbish at. And there's
mm,
no failure, there's only feedback. And my whole program, you come out the other side just with that kind of strength and motivation to go, screw you. There's something wrong with all of you because I'm a good person. And I
yeah.
want everyone, that's my message. My message is, you know, stop believing other people's wounded behavior because they're not doing what they're doing because they're horrible people. They're doing it because they hurt people.
Yeah.
That's with pedophiles and the rest of it. My mum's brother was abusing me and my sister. Now, I bet he wishes that wasn't the way he was wired, but he was a sick person.
Yes.
And, I don't forgive him. I mean, I don't think what he did was okay. It wasn't, but I
Right.
forgive him to set myself free, not because it's okay. It doesn't condone his behavior, if that makes sense. It just means I'm no longer willing to let the way you treated me impact how I treat myself and what I think of myself.
Yeah.
Mm.
That is so true and so freeing, and I've had to come to that point, and I got there pretty quick in my life too, and that
Yeah.
forgiveness was like, I was hoping I'd never have to be put to that test. But when
Mm.
I said, "Oh, no." And the beauty is years later, I have we have those stories and we use them to help other people maybe, but I don't live there and you don't live there, and that's a
No.
beautiful thing, and some of us that, we may be working with and helping, they're still there when you talk to them, and helping them to not live there anymore and move on
Yeah.
and own
100%.
the rest of their life is such a huge thing to help them become free from that, and the
100%.
it's
Yeah.
like they have the doors right there. We're just kind
Yeah.
of like, "Okay, look, I went through this door. You just gotta open the door and walk through it, I promise." And you get to the other side and life is so much better. And
Yeah,
so
and see, there's people like you and I that have actually done that, and because so I'm not. I mean, I've got more qualifications than hairs on my head. That was how I deal with it. It doesn't make me better than anyone else. It just means
right,
I've got a toolbox that's like got every tool in it.
yes,
And my program is about. It's taken all the trainings, all the knowledge, and my personal experience because I know how you're gonna what resistance you're gonna come up against. I know how you got there, so I know what you got to do to get through that. And so everyone that's been through it so far is like, this course is amazing. I'm like, I know. I put my heart and soul in that. It took me a whole year to put it together. So I put the
right,
trainings, all my Tony Robbins training, all my other training, and I've taken the best of everything. And then I've like worked it out. It's like, this is how you need to break down what you're thinking and what, because some people are so invested in what they're thinking, they're
yeah,
stuck there. And they want to stay there because they think if they keep themselves, then they stay angry, then that other person's going to hurt. I've got news for you. They don't care. They're gone. And the only person that's life has been ruined is yours. And so I take people to go, say, screw that, let's just start again. That's why it's called. That's why my thing is, old one's got me calling myself the reset transformer.
yes,
Because that's like, I want you to transform your life because you can. And I'm not saying that because I've read something and it's a woo-woo thing or
right,
it's a positive thinking thing. It's an actual thing because
yeah,
I've done it myself and you've done it yourself. So I love working with people our age, the 50s, 60s, at 70s that are like think that life is it. I even had someone the other day say, well, I am 55, it's a bit late for me. And I'm like, you got nothing. I'm nearly 60
yes,
and I have no intention of giving up ever. So,
right,
but people hold on to resentment. They hold on to, it's a manipulation. They manipulate the people around them and they hold on to whatever story they got running in their head. And they get so far down that rabbit hole that they can't drag themselves out because they told too many people about it now, or whatever is going on. Do you know what I mean?
I
They
know,
stay
and
assigned to their story.
it's really funny because you mentioned all these different ages. And the funny thing is I worked with a client who's incredible, but she was just 35 and she was like acting and living old. Like you would
Oh
swear
my
she
God.
was like 80. I mean, I was like,
Yeah.
what? No, it's over. I can't because I'm already, at this 35 and make it like
You're
so
35. I hate you.
oh, okay, really? And I'm like, "Oh,"
Yeah.
and everything that she was living and acting was her mother at that age got really sick.
Yeah.
And so in her mind, 35 is when you get old and sick.
Yeah.
She lost her mom at that, close to that age range. So in her mind, she's repeating what she's supposed to be. And now
Mm.
she's like doing all kinds of fun things and living an incredible life and on some
I
kind of a
love that.
marathon team, a completely different person. And so that's
I love
all
that.
it's in the mind.
Mm.
And it's
100%.
I mean, my
Yeah.
gosh, if I meet people even my age with my grown kids that are in their, 30s, when I meet them and they're talking about, "Oh, we're old now." I'm like, "Oh, no, you're not my group. Sorry."
Yeah, you know my people.
Young people, 'cause I gotta stay young. The heck with that. I'm not
Yeah,
singing that song. And so that is
yeah,
it's a mentality. So like, well, but you're healthy and let's go
100%.
swimming and let's go to the club and dance or something. Let's have fun. It's
Yeah.
not,
Well, I started helicopter flying lessons a couple of weeks ago.
oh yes, yes. And I mean Tony got me to do flying lessons also. Isn't that funny? So
Oh,
we
that's awesome.
both was attracted to his work. I know I didn't have some answers, and I found Tony Robbins, and I ended up traveling full time with him for 7 years and had a blast and learned
Did
so
you?
much. And I'm still
Yeah,
very involved, and I love it. And it's just you've got to be around the peer group that is going, what does Tony say? You're the direct reflection of the 5 people that you're with, right? And so
100%.
that's who is your peer group. And if you're in a tough situation, especially if you're listening to this and you're still stuck somewhere, look at your friends and start to connect with the healthiest people you can. Get some mentors in your life, through books,
Yeah,
through TV, if you're stuck on lockdown, and through any kind of connection you can,
yeah,
because changing that peer group is going to help so much. Now, going back to my
100%.
youth, when I was this little girl beat up and my mother was beat up, all this, animals were killed also. So I mean, like, we are like so sisters in all our stories. It's crazy. But I
Yeah.
would leave first when I was 8, I found Think and Grow Rich, the book, at a garage sale, and I bought it, and I thought, if I could just read this book, I'll learn how to have enough money to get my mom a house, and then we can get
Oh,
rid of this abuse. So I read that darn book, and the first thing I did was I moved out to the shed. I got permission, and I lived in the metal shed. Now, this was California, so it wasn't crazy heat, but it was hot, and I would use the back bathroom that was like the guest, like, one. It didn't have a shower or whatever, and I stayed out of the house and I showered at the neighbor's house, and I met all these beautiful, incredible elders that were neighbors because it was an older community, and they were my peer group. They were my mentors, and I was like, "Wait, this is what's going on at home, and this is what they're telling me about myself, but when I go to all these other people's houses, I see how healthy families live, and I hear
yeah,
healthy things about me, and I'm treated kindly." And so that's what I want more of. And that was at that really young age, so I kinda knew that, it's not me, it's them, and that
yeah,
awareness helped me a lot. So when they told me
yeah.
terrible things, I told them terrible things back. I was well, like,
Yeah.
"You know what? You're ugly too." And you're do it. And so and then that just got me beaten up more, but, so that was probably not the best thing to do, but that's the way it was. And,
Yeah,
that awareness of there's something else that's possible. And that's what this show
100%.
is about, and your book is about, and your court, that there are possibilities that are so close. That door is right in front of you. And, connect to read the books, watch the shows, listen in, to the podcasts, do whatever you can, because that'll help you open that door just faster. But it's already
It's
there.
so much better than living with regret. You know, the last
Yes,
thing you want is to live with regret. I wish I'd done this. I wish I'd done that. I wish I hadn't listened to so many people. If
right.
only, if only. It's like, you want to skid to 95 and looking a wreck because you've had such a great time, rather than getting
Yeah.
it all nicely preserved and thinking I shouldn't do this and I can't say that or
Oh,
whatever.
and
You
maybe
know.
that was my blessing. Those little old ladies, and grandma would have tea with them. And they were all probably in their late 70s to 80s when I was this 5-year-old girl, and they would sit and have tea and they would talk. And I'm talking about ladies that they went through the concentration camp, and everybody was lost
Yeah.
in the family. One of them was from Greece, husband died, and everybody was against her taking over the family restaurant, but she did. And she never lost her feminine, but she ran the business. And so all these stories from different parts of the world, because Los Angeles, California is where we lived. So everybody was there. It's very diverse. And I heard their stories. And at 5, I thought, oh, wow, I'm going to have my own adventures, and I'm going to be their age telling my stories. And so they gave me that inspiration. And later, I literally raised my children, and those people that were the elders then had every holiday meal with us. They were part, and I wanted their stories to continue to be shared to my children. And I made sure to connect my children growing up to elders, because they have the wisdom that I'm like, I don't have this wisdom quite yet, but these people do. So listen to their stories, and we're making our own. And so that's really important. Even that, just hearing. Right now, we are going through some times on the planet, some crazy times, and if anybody hasn't noticed, and with that, those stories, when you look back in history, can carry you through and give you like, okay, yeah, this is happening, but how did everybody else do it? That's what we've
Yeah.
got to do. And that
And
really
it is
helps.
about a choice, as you say. It's a choice. You've got to choose what you want for yourself. And I think we all intrinsically know whether we're good people or bad people.
Right.
You know whether you've been selfish, you know whether you've been mean, you know whether you've done the right thing or the wrong thing. You know when you're exaggerating, you know when you're making stuff up. It's like, just be honest. Be
Mhm.
honest about who you are and where you've been and what you've done. And just because you've been a bitch to someone, it doesn't mean you are a bitch. It just means that's what you did. And it just means because you've been angry, it doesn't mean say you're an angry person. It just means that's where you're not your behavior. Your behavior is over here and it's what you do to get your unmet needs met. You would know that working with Tony. And so your behavior is what you do. It's not who you are, it's what you do. And if you can understand why you do your behavior, and you can break all that down, which is what my program's about, is right, let's break down those thoughts, break down that behavior, and let's find out who you really are. Because who you really are is much better and much different and probably much stronger than who you're being right now. So, but it's a choice. You've got to go, I don't like being this person. I don't like being this one that's angry all the time or depressed all the time or taking 1,000,001 drugs. And that my drug was education. Like I say, I've got so many qualifications, not funny, but I needed to understand, and I'll never stop learning, because knowledge is power. And I think the more you understand people and emotional intelligence, the more you can make better decisions and be honest. I think the biggest thing is about being honest about who you are and who you're being. I think when you can do that, you can change.
Yes, yes. So I wrote that book, my bootstraps and bra straps, and my bee in the boots formula
I
is
love that.
it's being. It's about in all I'm doing, it's who I'm being and how I show up, whether I'm walking my puppies or working with my kids or I don't know, cleaning my house, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. That doesn't
Yeah,
like describe me. What describes me is who I'm being, not what I'm called to do. And sometimes we all have to roll up our sleeves. Like when you were young and you had to leave, nobody was there and you had to like roll up your sleeves and figure it out. We had to do that. But that beingness, that beautiful young person, uh, was still there
yeah,
and
100%.
through. And so that's the difference is that choice of being, and it was my mantra when I wrote the book, when I lost my house, my car, and my cat all in the same day with these California fires. And I thought, I had already done all the Tony stuff and traveled, and I was finally relaxing and getting a new house with my daughter to move in. And oh my gosh, everything went away. I got demoted
Yeah,
so fast. And I thought, wait, you know what? That doesn't have to be like this. Yeah,
yeah,
these things happen, but I'm still good. My family's still good. I was real sad about that cat. But, it was definitely a rebuilding, and I put everything I learned to the test, and within a month, I'm, like, moving to Beverly Hills and have even
yeah,
and I said, "Oh, the universe conspires for our highest and best good."
yeah.
I just needed to be willing. And
Absolutely. You need to be open to receiving.
yes,
And
and
do you believe this? Can I ask you a question? Do you believe this? I believe that when you lose everything, that's the universe's way of going, you know what, Sheila, you're holding on to that stuff. It's not going to do you any good. And if I don't take it away, you're going to hold on to it. Then you're not going to be who you're supposed to be. You
yes.
get to your highest potential. So it's like, I'm going to make an event happen. I
Mm,
mean, obviously, as a conscious awareness, unconscious thing, it sort of makes that event happen. And then it all just gets taken away from you because it's not where you're supposed to be. So
yes,
like my growing up in poverty in that horrible house and being abused and coming home and the whole house was empty,
yeah.
I believe that was the universe working for me and going, well, you know what, you're meant for better things, bigger things. And if this doesn't happen, if this hasn't taken away from you, you're going to have some sort of sense of responsibility here. You're going to keep coming back here. You're going to feel that you've got to look after the people in there that are hurting you. So it's like, that was just take it away. I seriously believe that. I think the universe just takes away whatever you're holding on to that you shouldn't be holding on to. That's just my belief. But I don't know what you think. What's your thought?
100%. And so,
Yeah.
and I really feel like, especially since the 2020 situation happened with this pandemic, people have lost their jobs and now they're making twice as much as they did, or, they're finally home with their family and they're able to make ends meet and everything. And they're happier.
Yeah, 100%.
Because of that redirection. And I think, oh my gosh, this is so interesting. Like, we didn't listen so much. We all got sent to our rooms and, globally, and everything is being realigned because things can be so much better. And people are now aware, even young adults. I have all these young adult kids. My youngest is like 22. And so I have 6, I adopted 3. So I've got this big family, and some came home, and it was this difference of, I don't know, being aware and caring about what's going on and about the environment.
Mm.
And just, it changed the trajectory of our future leaders that are in training right now. They're in their own house. This whole world is in that whole chaos right now, like your house, like my house, and that we're going to leave there, but it's part of the training and process to guide us to something even better. That's my belief, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. It's like, I just think we hold on to all the wrong things, so that just like something drastic has to happen for you to let it go, so you can actually go in the direction you're supposed to be going into. Stop holding on to that.
Yes.
Let it go.
Yeah. And you know what? You can let go at any time. You do not have to wait for the bad thing to happen or the redirection. You can never mind. I'll just go now.
Stop waiting for permission. And this is something I work with my clients. It's like, whose permission do you need? Let's write a note out like you do. And I get them to actually write, I give myself permission to have this happiness, or be this, or let go of this anger, or whatever it is. And they write themselves, like you give your child when they go to school and they need permission to go on the field trip. It's like, give yourself a permission note and now give it to me and I'll sign it. And there you go. You got permission now. Off you go.
Yes. And that permission is so wildly important. So, in anything, you think, okay, I'm going to give myself permission to have loving relationships and friendships show up. What happens? They show up and you realize, oh my gosh, they were there all along, but I just wasn't giving them permission to even talk to me. So
it starts, and it starts with that whole self-love thing. You got to love yourself, because people can only love you to the degree you love you, and people think that's like an egotistical, love myself. It's like, no, it's not that kind of love myself. It's just having that respect, that healthy respect for who you are and what you've gone through and how you've come through it. Now you look at where you've come from and where I've come from. We're still nice people. So underneath it all, we were always nice people, and most people are nice people. And so they think about, if they look at everything they're going through or what they've gone through, and they haven't turned into murderers and rapists or child molesters or whatever. And even if they have, then they got to understand why they've chosen that pathway and get some help with that. But what I'm trying to say is, like, most people, even though they've gone through all these horrible things, still maintain that they're very core, that they're good people. They just hurt people. So their behavior makes them do things. It's not who they are. It's just what their behavior is doing because of the way they were treated. And it's like jumping when you see a spider. You're just reacting to your environment, right? You don't plan to go, oh, I'm going to scream, I'm going to shout, and I'm going to run away and go start flapping my clothes around. Where did it go? Where did it go? It's just like a neurological reaction. And when you've grown up in any kind of environment that's not healthy, you're going to start reacting to things rather than responding to things. So it's about revisiting, what were you looking at, what were you seeing, what were you exposed to, and clearing that out of the way so you can get back to being the core of who you are. Because every little baby comes onto the planet with the same presets of success. We're driven for success. Think about, as little babies, how you it's time, your body signals it's time for you to sit up by yourself. There's nobody there with a video and a manual going, right, I want you to do this, I want you to do that. You're internally driven to do that. The same with crawling. All of a sudden you start working that out, and then you start working out the walking now. Think if you had an ego at that time and you knew about failure or embarrassment the first time you stood up, fell over and hit your head on the coffee table, thinking, this walking thing's a bit dangerous, I'm not doing that. And you'd never give up. Yeah, I mean, you'd never go, you'd give up. And, we'd become a nation of amoebas. So it's like, you got to look at what you came into the planet with. And that's just this success driven. And then everything that you're learning to talk for nearly 2 years, and then you're listening and watching how people are interacting and how they're dealing with stress and how they're treating each other, and you're formulating all these little stories about what that actually means. And then that's where your stories come from. That means that. So when I do that, that means that. It's like complex equivalent, you know. And I learned that in NLP. I'm like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. I've made that equal that. Happy days. Now I can work it out. So that's why education for me is is important. It's I don't know what I was going to say. I was going to say Q, but that doesn't go. But it's really, really important to understand your behavior, understand who you really are, and get back to being that. I do a meditation under hypnosis where they go back and reinstate that blueprint they were born with, that one that's geared for success. Because when you shift away all that environmental influence and that conditioning from other people, you get down to who you really are. Like, so I ask them, who are you without your problems? And let's get you back there. So
That's
yeah,
so
I can talk about that for hours.
and I think you brought up the safety. And so if your children are like overreacting or acting out right now, they may not feel safe. Please turn off the news and let them know we're safe. You know what I mean? And it shows up in different ways. Now my daughter's studying psychology. She studied with Chloe Madonis and I. We did her
Cool.
and she decided
Yeah.
I'm in love with this stuff, and she took psychology. She's almost done with her last, her licensing.
Yeah, I did my training with Chloe. It's
Yes,
awesome.
yes. And so she's doing that, and she actually works at a girls' home with teenage pregnant moms that are in the foster care system, and they're rough and they're not nice sometimes, but it's because they're scared. And we have talks about these things, my daughter and I, because she talks a little bit about what's going on, and it's like when you realize that and you can make them feel safe, then you're good and they're good. It's just that, and in a relationship, you think if somebody doesn't feel safe, whether it's a man or a woman or partner, whatever you've got going on, if they don't feel safe with you, it's kind of over. Because that's or any kind of a situation. So that's something, if you're able to bring that honesty, integrity, truth to what you're doing, people feel safe, even if the truth is, okay, well, this is the budget this month, family, or, whatever the truth is, but we're safe because we're together. Whatever that is right now for you, that truth is a great place to start. I really feel like that. Yeah. Yes. So now I'd love to hear, we're coming to the end of our talking time. I'd love to hear a little bit more about how people can get involved or start if they want to join your program, where they can get that and where they can get your books.
Okay, thank you. My books, I don't know if this is just a podcast that's making broken views. I don't know if people can see that. Well, where's the camera there? So that you can get that one on Amazon. And that one, the same as Life in Verse, that one you can get on Amazon too. And that's me setting a bird free in Vietnam. They had all these little birds in cages. Oh. And you could buy them and set them free. So I bought all of them, set them all free. So some guy goes, that was a waste of your money because they're only going to be caught. They're going to fly to a tree, have a net over it, and they get caught again. I said, oh, well, for the minute, they're free right now, flapping around. So, it doesn't really matter. But so you can get them on Amazon. My program, my 6-week program, if people are ready to reset their life, then they can just jump straight in onto resetonlife.com and they can jump straight in and get the program. If they're not ready and they want to have a chat first, they can do Pamela Milliken /book a call. Or you can, if you want to stalk me, check me out, please do. Read my Google reviews under my name, or PamelaMilliken.com is my website. So several ways or jump on my Facebook too. I've got Reset Your Life on Facebook. It's Reset on Life because I couldn't get Reset Your Life. It was already gone. So my program is Reset on Life. So you get a resetonlife.com. So if you're ready to just go straight in, I want to reset my life, I'm doing it now, then go and jump on the program, and then I'll get notified, and then that will activate a whole bunch of emails, and then I'll get in touch with you, and because it's a 6 weeks, and we've just finished week 4, the first set, so I've got 2 more weeks, so the next 6 weeks will start in 3 weeks' time, so there's a 3-week window now before people can start the next 6 weeks if they want to. So
nice. That sounds wonderful. Well, it was wonderful also to have you as a guest on the show, Pamela. So thank you.
Thank you.
And yes, all the way from Australia right now, I believe, right?
Yes. Thank you for having me. Yes, my
Well,
calendar's just been thrown out because New
I
South Wales have gone
yes.
into time change. But
Well, a hug to everyone there in Australia and going through everything we're going through globally. Stay strong, everyone over there. And thank you again for being a guest on the show. And for those tuning
thank
in,
you.
we'll be back after these messages. Stay tuned. Tips, business leader reboot tips. Now, here is another good tip. Let's say you're a dentist, a doctor, you have a company where you have gone to school and had a lot of training in your field, and you are an expert and you are offering great advice, and you give advice free every day. Writing a short ebook or publishing a book is one way to help get your message out and entice new clients while sharing your message and helping people get back on track this year. So that is one business trip for you today. All right.
Have you lost your job? Have you lost a loved one? Are you exhausted caring for your parents, for your kids? Well, you can find immediate relief when you read Sheila Mack's new #1 bestseller, Bootstraps and Bra Straps. It contains the Boots formula to move from rock bottom back into action in any situation, especially right now. So if life has knocked you down, pick yourself up with Bootstraps and Bra Straps. Get your copy at www.sheilamac.com today.
Elder care tips for today. All right, now there's this time in your life where we end up caring for our parents. We are parenting our parents, and the roles shift from them being our caregivers, our friends, to then needing our care. And when you get to that point, there are many free resources in your community to help you. And that's based on the health insurance you have. Maybe there's Medicare, Medicaid. You want to look into Social Security benefits that could help depending on the level of care your parent may need. There's even help for if you bring your parent back home, you will be able to have home helpers, usually under the medical insurance, come and help with care so that you're able to do your work and everything else that you're required to do each day.
If you are just tuning in, this is NBC's Sheila Mack Show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and today I have a couple of announcements. First, I would like to hear from you. That's right. I would love to hear from you. To be honest, I want to know what your breakthrough is, what your reboot is. How are you reinventing and rebooting your life? What shows would you like to hear more of? What information do you need to help you get back on track this year? And to do that, the best way to connect with me is actually through my new YouTube channel, and that is Sheila Mack Show on YouTube. And there you can see past recordings, and you can also see other information and shares that I have. And I would love for you to share in the comments there what you're needing more of and what you're rebooting this year and how we can help you get back on track.
All right, I have some business leader reboot tips for you. If you are a small business owner, then there are a few things that can help you. First, think about business credit versus personal credit. If you have not tapped into business credit, this is very important. I actually have some free resources on my website to tell you more about how to do that. But business credit will get you, oh my gosh, more than 10 times, probably closer to 100 times more credit opportunities than if you just use your personal credit. And it will also save you in the event that you need to tap into personal credit or a home loan at that time when you need it most for your family or for whatever surprise we have next in this pandemic. So that is one tip that will help you and your business to get ahead this year. Grab a copy of my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps. The formula to go from rock bottom back into action. Bootstraps and bra straps now available on Amazon, Audible, and wherever fine books are sold. And now a message from our sponsor. Is not one size fits all, just like a pair of boots or a bra. So the formula is designed to help you through any situation.